We are reading the Yogasutras. So, we will discuss the aphorisms dealing with the Samadhis. We are in the first chapter, and this is our Yoga Sutra class number 6. Let us remind ourselves once again what we have learned so far, just in a few words. Number 1, we have learned that yoga means samadhi. Yoga is equal to samadhi. When we attain samadhi, we have attained the culmination of the yoga. It is achieved by disconnecting us from all other things that are not myself. Then we looked into the anatomical blueprint of the thing called mind stuff or the psychic apparatus. We tried to understand what a vritti is and what is the flow of vrittis, and what will happen if we engage ourselves in restraining our thoughts and organizing our thoughts, and what will happen if we don't. We have seen that a vritti is the smallest basic unit of thought. It appears in circular motion, and this is called vritta in Sanskrit. Vritta means a circle. We also saw that Patanjali did not ask us to stop the vrittis altogether initially. Rather, he asked us to channelize many similar vrittis on one object so that we can have a flow of identical vrittis. This is called meditation, which will culminate in samadhi or yoga or our freedom. And we can remember that we were looking into the word of the second aphorism, the last word, that is called nirodha or restraint of the mind. We promised to take up a yogi's wonderful journey into the very mysterious world of samadhi. Let me remind us that what I said last time, that samadhi is not just a word, but a whole process. It is the name of a dedicated and arduous journey into a different world altogether. Yes, very brave few and very blessed few dare to undertake such a journey into the unknown territory of their own known inner world. It is the place where the Upanishads say, no sun shines, not the moon, not the stars, not the worldly lightning. What to speak of ordinary fire? This realm has its own effulgence, its own light. It shining all shines, because everything becomes visible by its light. That light percolates through all pores of that body which holds that effulgent self. That is what Sri Krishna says in the Gita. Swami Vivekananda tells us, the knowledge of the mind, of the internal nature of man, of thought, can never be had until we have first the power of observing the facts that are going on within. Observation is the criteria. That's what he tries to underscore. It is comparatively easy to observe facts in the external world, for many instruments have been invented for that purpose. But in the internal world, we have no instrument to help us. Yet, we know we must observe the order to have a real science. We must observe the internal happenings to have a real science. Without a proper analysis, any science will be hopeless, mere theorizing. So, and that is why all the psychologists have been quarreling among themselves since the beginning of time, except those few who found out the means of observation. The idea is that this study should be rigorous, then it will be called a science. Swami Vivekananda says, the science of Raja Yoga, in the first place, proposes to give us such a means of observing the internal states. And that means, every one of us has that, and that is called our mind. We have to keep it in mind that only the attainment of a withdrawn state of mind does not bring about liberation. If we withdraw our mind from everything in this world, that does not give us liberation. The withdrawn state of mind is not a super steady mind initially. This steadiness is usually broken through natural causes or on account of pop-ups from the store of our latent impressions. Our mind that is restrained or withdrawn is not immediately a super steady mind, because this steadiness is normally broken through natural causes and on account of pop-ups from the store of our latent impressions inside the mind. This store is called chitta or memory, we have seen. When the steadiness is no longer broken, then it is called the state of liberation. For achieving uninterrupted steady state of mind, detachment is necessary. For detachment, knowledge of the constituent principles is compulsory. We have to remember that the constituent principles of the whole creation include Purusa or the conscious self. After withdrawing the mind from objects through concentration, and concentration in the withdrawn state of the mind through the knowledge about the self, this has to be practiced. We have to practice the concentration on the self. That means the two processes, the withdrawal of the mind from unnecessary worldly pursuits. Please keep it in mind that worldly pursuits are not objected to. Only the unnecessary worldly pursuits, harmful worldly pursuits are not included. So the two processes, the withdrawal of the mind from unnecessary worldly pursuits and the concentration on the self or Purusa, these two can be practiced and should be practiced simultaneously or one after the other. But both are compulsory, that we have to keep in mind. Withdrawal of the mind from unnecessary worldly pursuits and concentration of the mind on the self, these two things should be practiced They can be practiced simultaneously or one after the other, but both are compulsory. We cannot avoid the first one. When the knowledge of the nature of the Purusha dawns, the mind becomes free from the thoughts of worldly objects, and then it is only occupied with matters relating to discernments. So see, first detachment, then discernment, and this discernment is the process of concentration or process of samadhi. When we explain different levels of samadhi in detail, we will see that it is not only concentration, but concentration with discernment that is advised. So not only the withdrawal, but then concentration with discernment. So detachment plus concentration with discernment, these two things are necessary at all levels of the samadhis. As I said, samadhi is not a word, it is a process. It is the whole of a journey inside the unknown territories of our own known world. There are philosophies which engage people to withdraw their minds from external objects by detachment and then concentrate on the unmanifested or the void as the final principle to be targeted. You see, as we have already seen, that the whole universe consists of two things. One is matter, another is consciousness. And this consciousness is single. This consciousness is consciousness. But matter has got two varieties. According to the Sankhya philosophy and also Yoga philosophy, matter, Prakriti, has Vyakta and Avyakta Rupam. Vyakta means that is manifested form, and Avyakta means unmanifested form, the gross and subtle. Gross is called Vyakta and subtle is called Avyakta. Matter has got two parts. Whatever we can experience with the help of our gross sense organs, they are all manifested. But there remains much more of the Prakriti which is called Avyakta, means unmanifested. So, there are philosophies, that is what Yogasutras tries to educate us about, and that is not the view of the Yogasutras. Some philosophies will teach us to withdraw our mind from worldly objects, that is detachment, but then concentrate on the unmanifested. That is what is called shunyam or void, as the final principle to be targeted. This is a little bit tricky idea, that when you withdraw yourself from all sources of suffering, then you have to attach the mind to something, and that something is not visible, void, shunyam, disappearance of the external world. They surely do not notice the distinction between Purusha and intellect, the self and the buddhi or intellect. When you target something which is unmanifested, then that the extent of that unmanifested is buddhi. This is called mahat according to the Yogasutras or Sankhya philosophy. But that is still matter. That is still matter. Therefore, at the end of our whole exercise of samadhi, we remain within the scope of the matter. We remain bound. We are not free. So, Yogasutras says that we have to differentiate between the buddhi or intellect and the conscious self. Then only it is possible to get rid of this, the end of this material world, which is represented by the subtlest form called intellect. The intellect can play the self, but it is not the self. That we have to understand. That is the void or shunyam that is spoken of here. Because buddhi also will have to be negated finally, shunyam, because that is matter. That is why those philosophies are not guiding the aspirants on the right path, says Patanjali. Suppose I say, close your eyes. And then I ask, what do you see? Everyone will say, I see nothing. Well, when you close your eyes, it need not be confirmed that you will see nothing. It need not be confirmed that you will see nothing of this world. This is normal. This is normal because it happens to everyone, whoever closes the eyes. But this is the right moment to check who is saying this. Who is saying that I see nothing? Look at the trick and look at the possibility here. When you close the eyes, you do not see anything of the external world. And you say that I do not see anything. So, who is saying this, that he or she sees nothing? This person who is saying this is not nothing. This person is something. This person is the thing. You are the thing because you experience that you are not seeing anything of the external world. But you are not seeing nothing. If you can see nothing, then nothing is a thing. That is the trick here. You cannot concentrate on a zero, on shunyam. That is why meditation with closed eyes is the most suitable one. You are facing yourself, and that is the closest distance you can find between you and your ego. And this is what is called turning our gaze inwards. Close the eyes, then you will see you are there. It is not nothing. That is the great process of meditation. Close the eyes. This process is made easier if we who do not claim themselves to be extraordinary people do it by physically closing the eyes. Physical help is necessary. It helps you to know that you are not nothing. You are the thing which becomes more obvious when the external distractions are shut out. That we can do easily. We don't need big instruments to do that. Just close the eyes. If only the negation of the world is emphasized and sought for, then those philosophies have failed to discover the distinction between consciousness and matter. Their process of concentration is not complete, and it does not bring them towards the final state of nirodha, the ultimate dissolution of the mind for a positive result. Mind has to dissolve itself for the sake of a positive result. There is no doubt about the fact that the negation of the world or the suffering actually happens in the normal process. But it is not the aim of Nirodha, because while their negation might be complete in respect of manifested worldly things, it is incomplete in regard to unmanifested things or avyakta, as I have said. The two positions regarding the entire process of yoga samadhi are what we have got now: negation of the material universe in both its manifested form and unmanifested form. Manifested form in this yoga language is called vikriti, and unmanifested form is called avikriti, what we call avyakta. So negation of the material universe in both of its forms, and affirmation of the conscious self. These are the two parts of the yoga samadhi. And when I refer to this word samadhi, I always mean and include that samadhi means yoga, and yoga means a whole process. The manifested form of the material universe is the gross form of the unmanifested form. It is like an ice block in water. The ice block is the gross form of water. We have to negate both the ice block and the water in which it floats, and which is the source of this ice block. Water is the source of this ice block, and this ice block floats in water. This is the difference between manifested and unmanifested. Then we will be established on the ground which supports them both. The incompleteness, what is referred to here, implies that we have negated the ice block only. The water still remains. The unmanifested still remains. Both have to be negated. So the target is not the unmanifested, but target is, which seems to be unmanifested, the self, which is always there and can manifest anytime. That is why both the meditators of the unmanifest and of the void, will finally merge into Prakriti, which is not the goal of the Yogasutras and also not of Samadhi. They will be reborn because, not having realized the distinction between the unmanifested Prakriti and the Purusha or the Self, their realization remains incomplete. This is the view of the yoga philosophy. So this is a great warning. That is why yogis become indifferent to the three gunas. The gunas are not visible. They are in the unmanifested form. So they are indifferent to these gunas also. We have discussed this before. So we remember two things again. Two most important things, and they are abhyasa and vairagya. That's what we have learned. How to restrain the mind, how to stop the mind stuff from changing into different forms by practice and practice of detachment. So these are the two most important things that a yogi, or any person for that matter, who is trying to be liberated following the path of yoga, There is no other way offered, even by any other philosophy. These are the two main practices one has to do. In some way or the other, one has to practice the disciplines. That is called abhyasa or practice. And somehow or other, one has to reduce one's connection to the worldly things and get attached to God or the ideal. This is called vairagya. These two disciplines together are called by the name habit. Habit of both going towards the ideal and going away from what stands as an obstruction in our way. Now we are daring to enter the wonderful world of the thing called Samadhi. We have to remember that here the Yogasutras is giving us definitions of the different stages of the whole process that is called Samadhi. We have, while discussing the second sutra of the Yogasutras, seen that yoga means Samadhi, and that this Samadhi is not only the end of our endeavor, but it is the whole process of our journey. Like the term bhakta or devotee, who is following the path of devotion. A devotee means a person who is following the path of devotion. That means all the devotees' endeavors in engaging the mind in the thought of God are called bhakti or devotion. All the endeavors. Similarly, all the endeavors of the yogi, from the lowest level to the highest level of Samadhi, are called yoga or Samadhi. So all the endeavors are called Samadhi, not only yoga. Sri Ramakrishna was amused when someone came to him and asked, "Sir, can you teach me Samadhi?" To this person, Samadhi was the highest point of our realization, and this man wanted to learn the end first without caring for the beginning. A beginner has a beginning. If we don't want to be a beginner, if we cannot wait to be beginners, the end cannot be turned around to come to meet us wherever we are standing. This is the same unfortunate episode of the internet educated doctors and internet trained masters. Anyway, the Yogasutras offers definitions of different samadhis, which I would like to call milestones. That is a milestone which one crosses on the way in the course of one's journey to the end. These different milestones are called samadhis at different levels of our growth. This word milestone I am using because it clarifies many things about our journey. And when we see there is the number 2 written on the milestone, we know where we are, how far we have come away from the starting point, and what are the sceneries surrounding that milestone available, promised by the scriptures, by the Yogasutras. Everything will become real to us, and then we will have that great faith that we are on the right track. And then with that encouragement, we will proceed towards the next milestone, which would be 3, surely 3. And that will fulfill all the promised results. That is the science which has been discovered by these Yogasutras. So let us remember, I would love to call these samadhis as milestones. Now we will be reading the aphorism number 17. And this includes all these milestones excepting the last one. Actually, the last one is not the milestone, that is the goal. Vitarka, vichara, ananda, asmita, anugamat, sampragnataha. So vitarka is the name of two samadhis, first two samadhis. Vichara is the name of the third and fourth. And ananda is the fifth. Asmita is the sixth. Ananda is called Sananda, Asmita is called Sasmita. And all these are together called Sampragnata Samadhi. Vitarka Vichara Ananda Asmita Anugamat Sampragnataha. That is in Sanskrit. The concentration called right knowledge is that which is followed by reasoning, Vitarka, Vichara, discernment, Ananda bliss, Asmita unqualified egoism. When the chitta or mind stuff is channelized properly by the practices of detachment and also practice of concentration or meditation on God, then begins the sojourn into the world of Samadhi. The levels of Samadhi have been divided into two, Sampragnata and Asampragnata. Well, it is very difficult to explain what they are, but when we explain the components, the 6 components of the Sampragnata Samadhi, then we will know what it actually means. But in short, Sampragnata, Sam means Samyak, means proper, prajna means wisdom. It will give us some understanding, proper understanding or realization at a dual level, where we will know the subject will know the object, the consciousness will know the material things, and asampragnata, where the subject will know itself. Oh no, without that type of differentiation between the knower and the known. These are the two meanings of these two words. Actually, they are not translatable as nouns. Now I will almost literally translate the Sanskrit commentary of Vyasa from the first aphorism of the Yogasutras. Atha Yoga Anusasanam, that is the first aphorism. And thereby I will try to define the Sampragnata Samadhi. And that is, these are the words of the commentator Vyasa. Vyasa says that Samadhi is called the Sampragnata Samadhi, which, being born in the one-pointed mind, does 3 things. Sampragnata Samadhi is the result of one-pointed mind, which has become one-pointed because of the practice and practice of detachment, practice of concentration and practice of detachment, Abhyasa Vairagya. And this Sampragnata Samadhi does 3 things. Number 1, it manifests the knowledge about the truth alone. Number 2, reduces the effects of the obstacles on our way. Number 3, slackens the bond with the samskaras of impressions and fixes the mind towards attaining complete restraint, nirodha. That is the last one. So asampragnata samadhi means the samadhi that is attained after or when all the vrittis or thoughts are completely restrained, or nirodha is achieved. Now let us remember this nirodha word, how it was explained when we were explaining the second aphorism. Yogaha chitta vrittihi nirodha. So nirodha means they are meant not sarva chitta vritti nirodha, Vyasa said. Nirodha means chitta vritti nirodha. So beginning with one chitta vritti, ending with 100% success. This is the meaning. Of these two samadhis, samprajnata and asamprajnata, or we may call lower kind of samadhi and higher kind of samadhi. Higher samadhi and lower kind of samadhis. So samprajnata means lower, asamprajnata means higher. This lower kind of samadhi has been divided into 4 parts, as we have seen: Vitarka, Vichara, Ananda, Asmita. And Vitarka is subdivided into 2 and Vichara subdivided into 2. So therefore 2 to 4, then 5th one is Ananda or Sananda, and 6th one is Asmita or Sasmita. Now Vitarka is divided into 2, means Savitarka, milestone number 1. Nirvitarka, milestone number 2. Vichara, Savichara, milestone number 3. Nirvichara, milestone number 4. This is the easiest translation of these nouns, the names. So 1, 2, 3, 4, milestone number 1, 2, 3, 4, if we remember them, it is easy to retain the ideas. Then Ananda is milestone number 5 and Asmita milestone number 6. All these 6 are within this Samprajnata Samadhi. And they have different names because of the difference in their objects of meditation. Different objects they take up, and they are taken up step by step. They are steps or milestones. And these are placed in our way. When we start with the first one or the first 2 milestones, that is 2 Vitarka Samadhis, we know that the whole journey lay ahead of us. We are just the beginners. We have begun with our process. Whatever we do at this initial stage will influence our journey to the milestones ahead. The initial training, initial endeavor or labor that we put in will influence the whole process of our journey. And that journey means we are going to walk up to the end. That is the seventh position. That is the goal. So Vitarka Samadhis have all the other later steps of Samadhis included in it. When we start with the second one or the next 2 milestones, we know that we have already crossed the first 2. Hence the whole journey, excepting the first 2 milestones, lay ahead of us. We have already achieved some success. We have crossed 2 miles. Whatever we do at this stage will influence the milestones which lay ahead that we are going to walk up to. So Vichara Samadhis have all the other later steps of Samadhis, like the milestones numbers 5 and 6 included in it. When we start with the third one or the milestone number 5, that is Sananda Samadhi, we know that we have already crossed the milestones from 1 to 4. We don't need to walk back. Hence the rest of the journey, that is the milestone number 6 only, lay ahead of us. Whatever we do at this stage will influence the milestone number 6 ahead that we are going to walk up to. So Sananda Samadhi has the other later step of Samadhi, that is milestone number 6, included in it. When we start with the fourth one or the milestone number 6, that is the Sasmita Samadhi, we know that we have already crossed all the milestones before this fourth one, before this fifth one. This is the fourth actually, but in our counting this is the sixth one. Hence the journey called Sampragnata Samadhi ends with this milestone. That is the milestone number 6. Now just to put this in mathematical language so that we can remember these ideas very easily. And this is solely meant for our retaining these ideas into memory. That's all. We have these combinations to remember that number 1. First effort includes all the milestones 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. So when I start with 1, I have to remember that I am just the beginner. I have to cross, the whole road is lying before me. Cross from 2 to 6, up to 6. So the first step is so heavy. This is like the foundation. This is the primary milestone, like the foundation. And if it is not done properly, then the later edifice will not stand on strong foundation. So 1 is very important because it includes the successes in all the steps lying ahead. So first step includes all the 6 milestones. Then the second step includes, it has already crossed 2, as I said. Now it includes 3, 4, 5, 6. First step is 1 to 6. Second step is 3 to 6. Third step is 5 and 6. And fourth, only 6. So we have got 4 steps. First 2 steps include 2, 2, and the last 2, 1, 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But first 2, second 2, 4, third 5, fourth 6. So the mathematical equation is, first is 1 to 6, second is 3 to 6, third is 5 and 6, fourth is only 6. This will be easy to remember. Now we will take up these samadhis one by one and define them. Once again, let me remind you that we are going to look at the definitions only. All our questions about how to attain these samadhis are not going to be answered here. That information will be given to us in the second chapter of this book, known as the Sadhana Pada, or the chapter on how to attain samadhis. In this chapter, the Yogasutras will acquaint us with a chart, a plan, with just some details about samadhis, just to introduce them. And number 2, about what the distractions or obstacles are. And number 3, about what the alternative objects of meditation are. So this first chapter will acquaint us with some details of samadhis. Then it will acquaint us with what the distractions or obstacles are there. And third, it will acquaint us with what the alternative objects of meditations are there. Once again, we have learned that yoga means samadhi. What is the meaning of the word samadhi? That we have not yet elaborately discussed. What is the meaning of the word samadhi? In Sanskrit, the definition is like this. Samyak adhiyate asmin, asmin means asmin atmani, iti samadhi. When the mind is fully concentrated in the self, this absorption is called samadhi. In this absorption, the searching mind, the knowing mind loses its relevance and the self is free from the use of this mind, or you call it intellect, buddhi. Then what happens? The self becomes busy with its own love for itself. Then the self becomes busy. That is the meaning of the word kriyavan. Upanishad says, Atma kridaha atmaratihi kriyavan. The self becomes busy, as it were, with its own love for itself, atmarati, and enjoys its own company, atma krida. We don't need another person to enjoy company. We can enjoy our own company. That's what we miss. And that is why there are so much conflicts everywhere, in every engagement. Once again, let us remember, Samadhi is divided into two main varieties. One is called the Samprajñata Samadhi and the other the Asamprajñata. The Samprajñata Samadhi is of four types. Of these four, the first two have two subtypes of each one. So in total there are 6 Samadhis, or 6 milestones in this Samprajñata Samadhi. The first 4 are on objects of our experiences. The first 4 Samadhis are concentration on objects, material and gross and subtle. Concentration on objects, first 4. Then the 5th one is concentration on the instrument of object, grahana samapatti. And 3rd one is grahitri samapatti, concentration on the subject itself. So we will go step by step. The first 4 are engaged with objects outside and inside, both gross and subtle. Gross and subtle. So we have time to discuss maybe the first milestone. Let us begin with that. The first Samadhi. This is called Vitarka Samadhi, and the first one is called Savitarka Samadhi. It is meditation on a gross object, and this gross object will be one of the 5 elements and 11 sense organs, that we start concentrating on any of the elements, like the space, akasa, light, then water, earth, etc. People go and sit near the ocean and meditate on the vastness of the ocean. People think of the space, meditate on that. People meditate on light, like that. So any of the elements, gross objects. The first variety is called Savitarka, when the mind meditates upon an object again and again by isolating it from other objects. It meditates on an object by isolating it from other objects of the same kind, other objects of different kinds. This we have to remember. Takes up only one object of the same kind. Suppose I am meditating on a pot. Only one pot. There are similar pots, similar weight, similar size, similar capacity to hold water, the same volume of water. But I will take up only one. There are different varieties of pots, and there are different things that can contain water, not only pots, but bowls are there, like this. So take up one object. Suppose we have taken a gross object like the pot for meditation. Let me analyze it. Of course, no one will be expected to meditate on a pot, but this is just for example. I am using this example of a pot just to illustrate that it is easy to explain the differences in one pot. This object is conditioned by time, space, name and meaning. Time, kala, space, desha, name, shabda and meaning, artha. Each object has its name, pot, meaning, we know what it is. So what it can do, that is the meaning. The name is pot and the meaning is what it can do. Time and space you have to always calculate, because the pot exists in time and exists in space. If we do not take these two things into consideration, then there is no pot. We may say a pot, we may understand what pot is, but we can't have a pot, a physical pot. A mental pot is fine, but still it takes mental space. So the object is conditioned or a combination of these four things. Any gross object. Time, kala, space, desha, name, shabda and meaning, artha. So we know that an object is not one single thing, but it is a combination of four aspects: time, space, name and meaning. We have to remember this. Now when I am meditating on a pot, this combination presents some complications for the mind to concentrate on it as a single physical object. Mind wanders about when we try to concentrate or meditate. Why? Because the object that we take, that has got so many varieties of qualities. So the object has different pores through which different sounds are coming out, different lights coming out. So they are attracting, we are missing this object. Sometimes the mind engages itself with one or two of these aspects of the object. Sometimes we lose the object in time. Sometimes we lose the object in space while meditating. The object of meditation is lost. Suppose you are meditating on Sri Ramakrishna. In meditation you are losing it because of all these surrounding conditioning ideas which are there in the mind. But if it is an object, gross object outside, then this time, this space, this name and this meaning, these are also very gross and very powerful, strong. So it is difficult to concentrate on the pure object, that is the physical pot. Difficult to concentrate without the conditioning of time, without the sense of time, without the sense of space, without the sense of name and its meaning. But the meditator continues to struggle based on his or her training. Training about the obstacles, that's what we have said. That in the first chapter, Patanjali will acquaint us with the obstacles that lie in front of us. So, the basic training is there. Therefore, the meditator continues to struggle based on the information in the training period, that these types of obstacles will come. These are big obstacles: time, space, name and meaning. That is why the object of meditation is lost in wandering thoughts. And of course, it is a wonderful experience because it is the first step of Samadhi. Won't it give us any positive experience? Yes. And this experience is called spiritual practice. This struggle is called spiritual practice. We are at it. There are two sorts of objects for meditation in the categories of the Sankhya philosophy: the insentient categories of nature and one sentient Purusha. Lifeless categories of nature and one sentient or conscious self. Now I am going to summarize Swami Vivekananda's explanations, keeping some words intact, as he said. This part of yoga is based entirely on Sankhya philosophy. As you will remember, egoism and will and mind have a common basis, the chitta or the mind stuff, out of which they are all manufactured. The mind stuff takes in the forces of nature and projects them as thought. There must be something again where both force and matter are one. This is the greatest equation discovered by Einstein, E equal to mc squared. This is what Swami Vivekananda said. This is called avyakta, the unmanifested state of nature before creation, and to which, after the end of the cycle, the whole of nature returns. That is the potential form, unmanifested form, to come out again after another period. Beyond that is the Purusha, the essence of intelligence, the self. Knowledge is power, and as soon as we begin to know a thing, we get power over it. So also when the mind begins to meditate on the different elements, it gains power over them. That is what Swami Vivekananda has said. So when we continue to meditate on this object and remember that it has got all these varieties of aspects, time, space, name and meaning, then we continue with our effort. What happens? We gain power over the object and we are able to meditate on the object in its purest form. The object as it is. This is the description of the first milestone. We have come to the end of our time. We will continue our discussion next time from milestone number 2.